We have the global stocktake which tells us we're not on track for 1.5. Do we listen or do we ignore it? That is ultimately the only question before us. And you've made very clear, Dr. Sultan, you don't intend to ignore it, and we are going to support you in not ignoring it. Now, what does that mean? If we're not on track for 1.5, our response must be anchored in keeping 1.5 alive. That must be, as you have said, our North Star, and we must back you with every ounce of energy we have. And the science then tells us the conclusions, which should be reflected, I believe, in the conclusions of this COP. That to keep 1.5 alive, we must peak emissions by 2025. To keep 1.5 alive, we must reduce emissions by 43% by 2030 and 60% by 2035. I think that should be reflected in the outcome. To do that, we can triple renewable energy in the way that you have led us to sign, and we agree, and double energy efficiency. And our NDCs should be aligned with 1.5 degrees. We also have to face this fact head on, that if we are to keep 1.5 degrees alive, fossil fuels has no ongoing role to play in our energy systems. And I speak as the Climate and Energy Minister of one of the world's largest fossil fuel exporters. And we embrace that fact and acknowledge it because we also live in the Pacific, and we are not going to see our brothers and sisters inundated and their countries swallowed by the seas. We are not going to do that. So we stand with them, and we stand with you, Dr. Sultan, for a very strong outcome. Now, there are many ways it can be reflected that fossil fuels don't have a future in our energy system, and we will be flexible with you to find the way, the pathway to give you the chance you need to write that into history. Abatement is a word that often gets thrown around. We need to make clear that we want to reduce fossil fuel use, and abatement is the backstop for those areas like the goalkeeper, which we need on the field, for those areas that get through. It is not an excuse for delay. It is not a reason for inaction. It is simply a part of the overall solution. We have to make that very clear. You don't go on the soccer field without the goalkeeper, but nor do you go on the soccer field only with the goalkeeper. We need abatement as the goalkeeper. We also need to recognise that all countries, of course, have a different pathway, and that next year the climate financing discussion, we should make it clear this year that we expect it to provide the support necessary for countries to reach their 1.5 targets. But ultimately the question before us is, if not now, when? And if not now, who will we leave it to? We cannot leave this room, we cannot leave this city without having made these tough decisions and supported you in every way possible. Without finding soft words, with respect, we don't need to phase out fossil fuel emissions. We need to end the use of fossil fuels in our energy systems, with abatement as a backstop and a goalkeeper, not an excuse for delay or inaction. You've called for compromise and flexibility, Dr. Sultan. I agree with this, but the one thing we can't compromise on is the science. The one thing we can't compromise on is the need to act. For the words that give you the best way forward, we can find a way to compromise and to be flexible, and that's what I know we'll all be here at any time of the day or night to do with you and for you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Now we have